Fredericksburg, a town that weaves its future from the fabric of its past. In the fall of 1994, a woman named Elizabeth Harrington arrives in Fredericksburg, anxious to put her own past aside and fashion a new beginning. Elizabeth Harrington has long endured battles with the demons of alcoholism and depression. In Fredericksburg, she finds a home at River Place, a halfway house specializing in mental health problems. Every day, Elizabeth gets a visit from one of her social workers, Dawn Brissetti.
Well, I remember her. She was very pleasant, very independent. She didn't need a lot of supervision, and she kept her apartment really neat and tidy. It looked really good for her. She could have done really well on her own.
One morning in November, Brissetti is on her daily rounds. At a little after 8 a.m., she finds Elizabeth's front door, unlocked and slightly ajar. Inside, she finds no sign of Elizabeth, and the apartment in a shambles. Brissetti begins to walk upstairs.
Walked up calling her name as I'm going up the steps. Elizabeth, come on, let's get up, it's time to go. And got to the top of the stairs. I called her name probably 2 more times.
Brissetti finds Elizabeth face down on her bed, her head bloodied, and a ligature wrapped around her neck.
The ligature appeared to be a scarf of some kind that had been wrapped around the victim's neck and tightened.
Crime scene analyst John Lippincott is one of the initial detectives on scene. His first thoughts: a struggle downstairs, then a likely sexual assault and murder upstairs.
The body was positioned, and it appeared that she had been assaulted from the back, from the way the body was laying and the pants being pulled down and so forth.
The body is autopsied, but no evidence of semen is found. Investigators then send the victim's clothes and bedding to the state crime lab, hoping forensics can isolate and identify some trace of the killer's bodily fluids. Meanwhile, in Fredericksburg, a small town with few murders, the hunt is on. On the night she was killed, the victim was at a bar called Merriman's with a local named Matt.
I think she was counseling him, trying to help him through some of the questions that he had at the time, some of the things that he perceived as problems.
Musselman questions Matt, who claims that after he and Elizabeth left the bar, they sat in his car and talked. Matt contends he bid Harrington goodnight just after 10 p.m.
I had several interviews with Matt because I felt like Matt did know more about this case than he was giving up.
Musselman, however, has no evidence tying Matt to the murder. Musselman works his way through the roster of guests at River Place, finding many who could have killed Harrington, but none who have significant evidentiary links to the case. Inside a few months, the trail goes cold, and Waverly Musselman begins to believe his killer has escaped. Until one day, when a man walks into his office with a story to tell. Archie Talley is homeless and calls the hard pavement under this bridge home. One day he picks his way through the streets of Fredericksburg to the local police station and eventually to the desk of Lieutenant Musselman. Talley has a story to tell about a man and woman who confronted him under the bridge and threatened to kill him because he was gay.
Now, you were telling me that one or both of them said something about the murder?
She said that she knew that she was a and homosexual and black hair. No purpose to live. The girl was almost dead. Something that they had tied around her neck. Tied it back around her neck.
Musselman investigates the tip, but can find no connection between Harrington and the 2 people mentioned by Talley. The lead is shuffled to the back of the pack, and Musselman continues to work the case. 1 year later, however, the investigator has nothing to show for his efforts, and the investigation goes cold. Archie Talley once lived under a bridge. 7 years later, he has moved up in the world to a second-story flat he shares with his latest boyfriend. Trouble, however, is brewing in the Talley household. The boyfriend is scared, telling police Archie has been toying with the idea of killing him in his sleep.
He had said so many times, "You just don't know how lucky you are." I sit there and watch you lay in that bed sleeping and stuff, and so many times I thought about setting gasoline to you and killing you.
According to Talley's lover, Archie is not only threatening to kill him, but bragging he has killed before. Detective Perkins decides to set a trap for Talley. He sends the suspect's boyfriend back to the apartment wearing a police wire. Then Perkins feeds a story about the Harrington murder to a local reporter.
So on the following day, she comes out with an article, "Cop the Killer, Give Up Now."
Perkins heads over to Archie's apartment, shows him the headline, and lets Archie know he hasn't forgotten about the case. As soon as Perkins leaves, Archie's boyfriend begins to press Talley about Harrington.
I was like, "What is all this, Archie? What's going on?" and stuff about this woman. And he's like, "Oh, they trying to pin something on me, but them bitches, they stupid and stuff."
Despite his bluster, Talley takes a misstep when the boyfriend asks how he knows Elizabeth Harrington.
At Maryland. Yeah. I met her one time there. You know, I didn't meet her because I went there at a party and my ex was there with her at.
To me, he's just confirmed the motive. He called his ex with this woman. So now he is going to go confront her, either to confront him, thinking maybe he is there at the apartment with her, or he's just going to confront her about being with his lover.
During the assault that took her life, Elizabeth Harrington suffered several wounds to the head and face. At the time, blood found at the scene was assumed to be hers and not tested for a second possible source. Now DNA analyst Bob Scanlon is asked to do exactly that and focuses on items of evidence that speak directly to the murder. Chief among them, a silk scarf found wrapped around the victim's neck. Scanlon takes a sample from every inch of the scarf, most of just the victim's DNA. A few, however, contain something more.
Sure enough, came up with a couple of samples, showed mixture consistent with, for instance, Elizabeth Harrington's type and Archie Talley's. And there was one area that I tested that actually was his DNA type alone.
I was very happy because I knew that now we had some good solid evidence that Mr. Talley wasn't going to be able to explain away.
Fines is ready to move forward with the forensic link that ties Talley to the murder. The following month, detectives bring their suspect in for questioning.
He was very defensive and just would say that you did that, not me. Basically, I felt blaming the police for setting him up in some way.
If they found all this shit at her crib, wouldn't they came and locked my ass up years ago? If I killed any fucking body, you think I would have stayed in this white town? Do you really think I would have stayed here?
This is evidence against you.
That don't mean to me. That don't mean nothing to me.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Not a damn thing to me.
It's going to mean everything to a jury.
Then therefore, okay, let's get it on. Okay?
Well, you'll get your day in court.
Then right.
But Archie Talley never does go before a jury. Instead, he takes an Alford plea. While he does not admit guilt, Talley concedes the state has enough evidence to convict him and pulls a term of 80 years in prison, the same sentence Talley likely would have received had he actually pled guilty.